This was by far our most successful event in a lot of different regards. And my measure of success, I said this in another interview, is how much this brings the community together. And one of the coolest things that I saw was every team, every affiliation, everybody there and excited to watch elite Canadian grappling, and everybody that was connected to this event left feeling good. They left feeling good about the quality of the performance, they left feeling good about the way the show was run, and they left feeling good, I think, about the community as a whole, which is everything that I want from an event like this. Cicero Costa, that's tough. Cicero, I think Fausto probably had the most. Fabricio as well. Fabricio and Ethan was a crazy cool match. Fausto, I felt like, opened up a little bit more with submission attempts, tried that flank triangle on Eamon. Eamon tried to do a diving knee cut pass, and Fausto managed to catch an entrance into an omoplata. Like, there was just some really creative guard playing, really creative movement against really credible pressure passing and movement. I think Fausto I was the most entertained by, but Fabricio and Ethan was just fire as well. So I think I give it to Fausto with honorable mention to Fabricio and probably Rodrigo as well. For 10th Planet, I think James Banville had the most memorable performance for me. His match against Rodrigo was the best match of the night out of all the quintet matches. I think it was the most competitive, the most back and forth. Rodrigo's an outstanding grappler. James had some really cool stuff, rolling up to the back from being in a darce. I freaked out when I saw that. I even messaged him afterwards. I thought it was super cool. Had a very close armbar attempt against Rodrigo, and credit to Rodrigo, nothing but heart and determination, and that ended in a draw. But really, I think a special performance from James. And that's not to take anything away from the rest of 10th Planet. They all had great moments. On Detroit, David Garmo, I think there's a couple things there. The bravery to take an 8-minute match against Javad, the two-time Olympian. The bravery to genuinely try to wrestle that guy. I laughed when he shot in and just kind of bounced off the hips of Javad. But then to tack that guillotine credibly enough that Javad walked off the stage, amazing. And Garmo had a great match with Paz immediately after fighting a giant against one of the a world champion, and a fantastic match. So Garmo takes it for me from Detroit. And then TriStar, it has to be Oliver. That might be the performance of the night for me. 2 back-to-back submissions and then a draw, and then a full-time draw as well in the final. So I figured it out. He had like 26 minutes of grappling, and in the Detroit match, that's 18 minutes continuous against extraordinary grapplers, world-class grapplers, and to get 2 subs and then go to a draw it was exceptional. Rodrigo defending that armbar. I was watching it for 30 seconds, and for 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, he's going to tap any second, and to manage to tough that out and find the angles. I don't know if it took any damage, but really a lot of heart, and cool to see somebody stand up for their team that much. John Toth hit just a textbook climbing armbar from guard. That was gorgeous. The Detroit TriStar match, I felt like the referees really got it right with the passivity calls. There were 4 passivity calls and 4 submissions in that match. right? Which is kind of what you hope to see, that the passivity is sparking action that leads to finishes. Maybe the standout thing for me about the quintet was how much it brought the teams together and how into it they got and how focused and intense they all were. It's what I love about this format. There was a lot of great matches in terms of like excitement and action. Mandy Adamak and Lorenz Killaby was sick. Ryan Dixon and Mike Malott was a really cool matchup for me because they're both elite level MMA guys, both guys that I've trained with a lot, and to see how that game played out over a match was super cool. There's a couple things happening with how I'm getting connected with guys in the industry. I've been around a long time. I'm old as dirt. I've been training in this community for like 15 years, and I've been a professional fighter and a coach for 15 years. So, I've trained with McInnes. I've competed against McInnes in jiu-jitsu. I've trained with Malott since he was a blue belt, since he was just starting out in MMA, and now he's coaching Cody Garbrandt at Team Alpha Male. It's guys that I've been connected to, that I respect, that I admire, that I have a connection with, that I've reached out to. And then the second thing that's happening is you start to get the FOMO from high-level athletes, where they see, it's like TriStar, Ethan, Oliver, Cicero Costa, Fausto, Mike Malott, Ryan Dixon. All these guys are on the card, and then you have, somebody like Steve Sims that says, I want to be on this card. Like this is, you're telling me that these are the best jiu-jitsu players that we have in Canada? Well, you're talking about me. I'm one of the best jiu-jitsu players in Canada. I want to be on that card. Now, Steve didn't say that to me. I'm not putting those words in his mouth, but that's the attitude that I'm getting from people. It's like, you're really starting to get, Darson Hemmings reached out to me recently and said, I would love to be on a card. That's amazing for me. Guys that like Darson, that are incredible international athletes, that are reaching out saying, I want to be on the best Canadian grappling show that there is, and that's how we're growing. We're working on a lot. And I don't want to be one of those guys that like drops teasers and doesn't give any information. But there's things that we're working on that are pretty cool. I'm targeting June for our next quintet show. I was looking at May, but the Gi Worlds are at the end of May, and I'd like to get some of the more competitive gi players starting to work no gi. I would love to have the Toronto BJJ squad, Jiu-Jitsu for Life squad involved, either as a team or individuals. They're a really competitive team. They're out there a lot, and it just hasn't worked out with their schedule, but I would love to get those guys on the card. Luke Tour, we're looking around the same time, kind of early summer. In terms of where you may see us, I've had conversations with Windsor and Detroit. Both cities want to host one of these shows. I've been talking to people in BC about doing a quintet, Para Bellum Quintet in British Columbia. I would love to make this a genuinely national show with international reach, and that means starting to connect with some of the incredible Canadian grappling communities that we have in Montreal and the Maritimes and out west and in the prairies. Canada's a deep country across the board, and I want to start showing that off in multiple markets.